Welcome back to Bloodborne. We've got a tomb to raid. Ugh, that was a bad way to start the episode. I'm sorry. You have my sincerest apologies. But we're trying to find our way to that valley hamlet that Gehrman mentioned, so that we can find a chalice to conduct a holy medium or something. Really not sure. He was pretty cryptic about that whole thing. I don't know. Very cryptic guy, that Gehrman. Very mysterious. It's quiet. Too quiet. Aha! I appreciate that they just have a lone werewolf down here, because it's like, it's not especially threatening when it's just by itself. But they had to put something down here, in this little interim between two areas. And I actually really like that. I really like that the game is now actively trying to show us, hey, by the way, you really might as well give up on trying to avoid fighting enemies. Because if you really think that they're, still the toughest of tough, you can run by that werewolf. But here's a little spoiler for you. Pretty soon we won't be able to do that anymore. Because you see, today on Bloodborne we're going to explore a new area of the town. We had some fun in Cathedral Ward, but the gates are closed, so we can't access the full area yet. So instead we're going to pal around here. In this new place. Well, well. Is that a lantern I spy? I don't know why I did that. Probably not going to be using the monocular all that much. Because, the monocular is not very useful in normal gameplay. You can move around and attack and stuff while you have the monocular out, but there's really no point in doing so. You can aim your gun, I guess, but what's the point? Let's go spend these souls. So last time, we got a couple of new items in the store. So we're going to check them out. First and foremost, a new weapon. Ooh. Fancy pantsy. There's also a new gun there. I didn't stop to hover over it, but we can now buy the repeating pistol, which fires 2 shots instead of 1, at the expense, of course, of 2 bullets. Not too useful for me, so I'm not going to purchase it. And unfortunately, we don't have the stats to use the Kirk hammer right now. So, why don't we fix that? Because this is the first Souls game where you can actually sell items at a, regular value. And this is going to drive people bananas. This is going to drive people absolutely insane. And I'll tell you why. It's because people hate when you sell unique equipment in these games. Well, I've got bad news for you. I'm going to be selling stuff. I'm going to be selling basically everything that I'm not, going to be wearing. I just sold the hunter garb. I know that you may be upset at me for selling unique equipment that you could never get back. But I'll have you know, it's not all that important in the grand scheme of things.
Very well, let me stand.
And you may think to yourself, well, that's not that big a deal. Surely nobody would get actually upset about it. But obviously, you have not browsed the Bloodborne thread in the Something Awful Games subforum, where people will literally yell at you in all capital letters about how you never ever sell equipment in these games. Well, they're wrong. Because equipment in this game is very valuable. And if you're not going to wear it, you might as well get rid of it. Thanks. Oh, she bows if you bow to her. That's cute. So hey, we've got the Kirk hammer now. It's a pretty cool weapon. Wait. Well, where did Gehrman go? I don't know. Maybe he has bills. Maybe he has business elsewhere. Plants to tend to. That kind of thing. So like I said in the last episode, we have quite a few bloodstone shards. And I'm actually not going to be using the Kirk hammer for too long, because I'm actually not a fan of it. So I'm not going to be upgrading it very much. But in its place, in the place of upgrades, we can make use of those gemstones we have been picking up. Because you see, gemstones allow you to enhance your weapons in various ways. The ones we picked up in the last episode were for damage. So, definitely going to be making use of those to boost my weapon's damage a little bit. So here we are, Old Yharnam. As Gehrman so helpfully told us before vanishing off to the ether, we need to go here to find a chalice. Oh. Okay, well I guess I'll just turn around then. Not! Always an inquisitive mind.
You there? Hunter! Didn't you see the warning? Turn back at once. Old Yharnam, burned and abandoned by men, is now home only to beasts. They are of no harm to those above. Turn back, or the hunter will face the hunt.
That's quite a threat, my friend. But, I'm not quite that, not quite that cowardly. Maybe a little bit cowardly, not quite that cowardly. Oh, you're not getting away from me, buddy. So the Kirk hammer. The Kirk hammer is a sword. And a hammer. Oh, forget it. It's just more shards. The Kirk hammer is a sword and a hammer. It is a good balance between strength and dexterity weapons, because, well, I mean, it is 1/2 dexterity weapon and 1/2 strength weapon. Oh, geez, hello. I guess these must be the beasts that were spoken of. Immediately, the thing that guy said about them meaning no harm is not true. And I gotta say, I'm not too happy about that. I don't like being lied to, or otherwise misled, as it were. I'm sure that that guy has the best intentions at heart. But beasts are beasts, and we have a giant hammer. So, I paid for this thing, I might as well use it. We've also picked up the Hunter's Torch, which is weird. It is a advanced version of the torch that we have been carrying around for the past few episodes. It's like the torch, but it scales A with arcane. Or B? Maybe A. I don't remember how much it scales with arcane, but it does more damage because it scales with arcane. So, I don't know. It's a direct upgrade to the torch we already had. I don't know why it's in the game, but okay. You can do quite a bit of damage with it, actually. If your character is invested in arcane, it does, like, pure fire damage. So you can end up doing, like, I don't know, I think it's like 200 damage with one swing of the torch, which is nuts. That's crazy. I have no idea why. Oh, man. I love the design of this area. Like, I love the bright reds and yellows. It's so pretty. In a very strange way. Hey, hey! It seems the torch serves more than one purpose. Based on the burning pyres scattered around, I have a feeling that these beasts may be afraid of fire. And maybe I shouldn't take such joy in that, I don't know. But I mean, they are still trying to take swings at me, so I don't feel too especially bad. They are pretty wimpy though, these guys. I guess if they were coming at me en masse, I would be, a little bit more concerned. Been using the phrase en masse a lot so far in the past couple episodes. Not sure why. Huh. That's an interesting place. Maybe we'll go there someday. Much like Souls game tradition, if you see a place, you probably will go there. Although in this game, it's a lot harder to tell where the places you will go are, because everything is made out of giant pointy buildings that look like you will go there. So, quite a bit more difficult to figure out where the future locations are. You smell that smoke? Boy, oh boy. That's the smell of freshly burning bodies. Or maybe not freshly burning bodies, according to Gehrman. It seems like something happened in Old Yarnum. Something terrible. The description of the antidote that we picked up a little while back sheds a little bit of light on it, which I will read to you in just a moment.
You are a skilled man, adept, blood, as the best hunters are.
The antidote reads, "They're small medicinal tablets that counteract poison, used to treat ashen blood, the baffling sickness that ravaged Old Yarnum long ago. The ashen blood ailment eventually triggered the spread of the beastly scourge." Wait, what do you mean? Oh my god! Huh. Well, why don't we just move from cover to cover for now? Because it seems that that man was very serious about his threats about the hunter facing the hunt. Holy crap, he's got a Gatling gun. Something tells me he has quite a supply of ammunition up there. I guess he was serious about not wanting people to come to Old Yarnum. Maybe he sympathizes with the beasts, you know? They were once people. I guess it would be unfair to, just kind of slaughter them. Oh, no, wait, no. It would be unfair to just slaughter them if they weren't trying to murder me. I feel like that's where you draw the line. Yeah, they were once people, but now they're not anymore. So, that's over now. So you can probably safely stop trying to defend them. I don't think they really mind. Oh, jeez. He's got a very tactical position, I gotta say. He certainly does have the home field advantage. It's almost like I haven't been here before. Thankfully, the beasts are afraid of the torch, so doing pretty good on keeping them at bay. The Kirk hammer is also making short work of them. The sword half of the Kirk hammer is actually pretty useful if you're not still, like, if you're still getting the hang of this game, because obviously if you've played other Souls games, you would be used to the sword half, because, I mean, the Souls games are all about hitting giant enemies in the grundle with swords, so you'd have some experience with it. And so the Kirk Hammer would be a little bit more familiar to you, with the hammer side being like a great club kind of thing. Good for pounding enemies into the dirt. Obviously, the charge attack takes some time to charge up, but when you get it, boy, it is satisfying. You also can backstab these guys. I don't know if you can parry them. I don't actually know. I've never bothered to try because they get stun locked so easily. But yeah, it's definitely possible to backstab them. And right there, we picked up our first, I guess I would call them like transformative gemstones. Gems that affect the scaling of your weapon. So we picked up a blood tinge gemstone there, and if we put it in a gun, it will improve the blood tinge scaling that the weapon gets. So it will benefit more, get more damage from us having a higher investment in blood tinge. And gems like that can be extremely useful later on in the game. Not right now, because none of our stats are very high yet, but later on in the game they can be practically invaluable, because, I mean, if you've already got high stats, then increasing the scaling that a weapon gets will, you know, like tenfold your damage or whatever, so they are definitely worth keeping around. So I think by this point the game has realized that these old Yharnam beasts are pretty wimpy, because it's starting to throw them at us in quite large numbers. And that's where the real danger comes in, is by themselves, they kind of suck. They get stunned from every hit from like any weapon or like shooting them, and they don't have a lot of health, and they can't really hurt you all that much. But in large numbers, they can stun lock you, and that is when they become especially dangerous. Of course, there's also the Gatling gun guy up there, who we perhaps don't want to mess with because, well, let's say that his Gatling gun is perhaps, oh, what's the word? Deadly. Deadly's the word I was thinking of. Yes, of course. How could I have forgotten such a word in the world of Yharnam? Oh boy. Uh-oh. So, this is our first enemy hunter. I mean, besides Gascoigne. Enemy hunters hang out in Yharnam, and we're gonna occasionally encounter them. But I'm gonna try my best not to fight them, because fighting other hunters in this game is miserable. Oh, it's so miserable. For one important reason that you will see later on, not in this episode, but the next time we fight a hunter, you will see why it is so miserable to fight hunters in this game. Just know that not every hunter fight is as fair as the one against Gascoigne was. Let's see who's manning this turret up here. Nah. He doesn't seem like he's gonna chase us any, so, you know, maybe we'll just deal with him later when I don't have a +2 weapon. Instead, we're gonna make a break for it, because my secret radars, well, doing that little bleepy noise that radars do. You know, like a sonar radar, where it's like a thing appears on the radar and it goes bloop 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 bloop. Kind of like that. Although it's not actually that hidden of a secret. I looked at it earlier, but I just didn't mention it. I don't really know how you're supposed to know that this little area is here. I guess if you clear out the area up there where the hunter is, you can look around and you will find the exit from this little secret place. And then you can try and work your way around the building until you can find your way inside. And plus, fall damage in this game is not all that bad, so like, a drop like that, you know, if you are aware of this game's reduced fall damage, you will probably already know that you can survive it. I appreciate that the big guys aren't afraid of the torch because they've got their heads covered. I think that's interesting. The big guys also do poison damage, which is why I put those antidotes on my hotbar, because we are going to start seeing quite a bit more of them as we proceed down the level, down towards the supposed location of that holy medium. I think the game is not generous enough with the amount of antidotes it lets you carry. It lets you carry 10, I believe, but as soon as you stop being poisoned by using an antidote, it'll just build right back up, you know? Like, poison in this game is not extremely dangerous because it comes and goes, but you can run out of antidotes pretty quickly when you are fighting a poisonous enemy. Well, hey there, beautiful. Not the enemy, the rifle spear. We've picked up a new weapon. One that I can't use because I don't have enough blood tinge. Barely. The rifle spear is pretty cool. We'll see the rifle spear later. It's one of my favorite weapons in the game, for sure. So yeah, poison. Poison sucks. Poison in any video game sucks, but it especially sucks in Souls games, as you probably know from other Souls games I've seen, and you've seen. Strange. It's very strange. I wonder who wrote that note. Maybe it was this guy. We're gonna take his clothes. Because, I mean, it's not like he needs them anymore. The charred hunter garb is, pretty cool looking. Pretty cool looking, armor set. Although, maybe I should put a mask on because the blood covering the face except for where the top hat was looks perhaps a bit silly. The Charred Hunter garb, as the name suggests, excels in preventing fire damage. While we are wearing the Charred Hunter garb, we will take significantly less damage from fire. And we're just gonna let that hunter live. I don't care. I'm not even gonna bother, because why would I fight him when the Gatling gun guy is right there? It's not a smart decision. And these games are all about making smart decisions, you know? Being aware of your surroundings so that you don't accidentally walk directly into an ambush or something like that. That would be stupid. Well, the good news is, we didn't walk directly into an ambush. Oh, there was no bad news. You were expecting me to say, oh, well, the bad news is now we've aggroed 500,000 enemies and they're all headed our way. But no. It's fine. Everything's fine. That said, there seem to be quite a number of gentlemen down there, so why don't we perhaps watch the noise level for now? You know, just, solid snake our way down there. Get the drop on them. the element of surprise and all that stuff is very important. Although, they have hoods covering their faces, so it seems like sneaking by them would be relatively easily. But maybe they can smell me. I mean, we've talked about that before. The hunter has a weird, distinct smell about them. Maybe it's because we haven't showered since we first came to Yharnam, but we haven't had a very good opportunity to, you know? Have you seen any water? Neither have I. There's no, like, water bottle consumable. Or maybe there is and we just haven't found it yet. I don't know. Somebody ought to really take their PS4 apart, you know? Poke at the game files of Bloodborne to find out if there is a way to bathe your character. Oh no! Yeah. Well, that is not going to do our odor any favors. So there's two kinds of poison in Bloodborne. There's slow poison, which I just received, and rapid poison, which is not poison at all. It's bleed from the other Souls games, where it like builds up and then when it reaches the top you just take a bunch of damage. Yeah, it's that. Obviously, rapid poison is a lot more dangerous than slow poison, which... slow poison is really just a mild inconvenience. But again, you get poisoned very, very fast in this game, so, you know, it can still be a pain if it happens in rapid succession a whole lot. Thankfully, the Kirk Hammer is making pretty short work of these guys. And this is why I chose to bring out the Kirk Hammer now instead of later on in the game, is because I don't like the Kirk Hammer. I think the Kirk Hammer sucks. I think it is a very poor mixture of strength and skill weapons, and I think that it doesn't benefit from either stat, which sucks. Bloodborne excels at weapons that specialize in either strength or dexterity, and the ones that are supposed to be like kinda in the middle, they just kinda suck. They're kinda lackluster. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me, because it's pretty satisfying to pound enemies into the dirt with a giant hammer. I get that. I sympathize with that. I also very much enjoy that. But I don't know. I just think the Kirk Hammer is lacking in damage because what they expect is that you will be building both stats if you are going to be using it. But if you're not going to do that, then the damage of the thing is definitely going to suffer. So after we get done with Old Yharnam, I think I'm going to be ditching the Kirk Hammer. But it's good to show it off, because it is definitely a staple of Bloodborne as a series. So I'll see you next time, when we, Huh. Bloodborne is a good-looking video game. It takes full advantage of the current console generation's hardware, in everything from lighting effects to particles to physics objects to just darn pretty-looking models. But one thing it has that I think raises it above everything I just mentioned is its visual style. The game has a very concrete and consistent visual style, and that's what I believe ties it all together. Its general aesthetic is concrete and dark rosewood, crumbled and splintered, old buildings and paths and set dressing just dripping with atmosphere and history. Everything looks like it has a story to tell. Every hanging body, every dimly lit glowing candle gels neatly with the washed out color scheme. It's all dreary grays and browns, contrasted by extremely vibrant red and yellow hues. Yharnam looks like a completely miserable place to live, exactly as the developers intended it to. It's got a very stylized realism to it. The human characters are just slightly out of proportion, The arms and legs just barely too long. Everything is ever so subtly warped, from the leaning buildings to the exaggerated explosions of sparks and fire, to look like something out of a nightmare. Something that could be real if it were just that tiny little bit more earthly. Even the grossest, ugliest creature is rendered with hair and fuzz and clothes with perfect physics. Bloodborne wants to portray a world where the grim and gritty can also be ornate. Even the hunter's clothes, perfectly designed for warding off beast attacks, still have elegant capes and trench coats that flutter in the wind as they dive here and there. Deadly fights between hunters and monsters become an almost elegant-looking dance. It's mesmerizing to watch, in a way. The game seamlessly blends the just too unreal horror of a nightmare with the ornate stylization of a city made of Gothic cathedrals, and it's part of the reason why I firmly believe it is one of the most impressive-looking games I have ever played. The rifle spear is a trick weapon crafted by the workshop heretics, the Powder Kegs. A prototype weapon serving as a simple firearm and spear, possibly created in imitation of a lost Canehurst weapon. Lacks any notable functions, saving that it is the only trick weapon with an attached gun. The rifle spear is basically a big long pokey stick. You can tackle enemies from a safe distance with it, and you can't really do much about it. They just kind of die. Transform mode is a little bit more, shall we say, angry, sweeping, a little bit better for crowd control. But it does have a couple of pretty fun functions while transformed. First of all, the charge attack is a fun, really long charge, and hitting L2 with it out fires a shotgun shell, which consumes a bullet. But it's great because it means you don't have to have a gun out. It's good because it allows you to wield whatever you want in your offhand. You could use the flame sprayer that we picked up from Gilbert a couple episodes back, or a torch, or another gun if you really want to do a different kind of damage. Basically, the rifle spear is a good combination of gun and weapon, and it's very good for, as you can see, handling crowds. The only trouble is that the windup on some of its attacks, especially the long-range charge, is quite dangerous. It leaves you quite open to counterattacks, which will do more damage if you're hit while you're charging it up. The pokey part is mostly good for keeping single enemies at bay, and then you want to do the transform attack to transform into the sweeping mode for when, the enemy's buddies get close. You can also transform into a gunshot if you want, and that can definitely take people by surprise, especially in PvP. I love the rifle spear. It's a really cool weapon, and it's one of the reasons I think the weapons in Bloodborne are pretty unique in a lot of ways. A long time ago, in the very early stages of the Beast Plague, there was no central Yharnam. The ridge the town sits on was once bare and uninhabited. The civilization of Yharnam was at one time located far below, in the valley between the two plateaus that now house Cathedral Ward and Central Yharnam. Now known as Old Yharnam, the city stretched out of the gorge by way of tall buildings stacked on top of one another, laid out like apartment blocks in between very thin cobblestone streets. Tragedy struck the burg when a mysterious illness began to spread through its inhabitants like a plague. Old Yharnam was overwhelmed with an inexplicable sickness known as ashen blood, wherein a man's blood would become thick and ashy as well as poisonous to the touch. Antidotes were created by the church and spread around to cull the sickness, but it was too late. As the description of the relevant item tells us, once you've got the ashen blood sickness, you can't get rid of it. The sickness likely spread to the townsfolk through blood ministration, and eventually beasts began to walk the streets. The church made an executive decision. Old Yarnum was unsalvageable and had to be burned to the ground. So, what is possibly the first instance of hunters in Yarnum's history came in to clean up the mess, raining fire down on the beasts and setting the town ablaze. Those still alive and well were escorted to safety in the newly constructed cathedral ward, and over the next unknown number of years, Central Yarnum was built on the opposite side of the ravine. But it seems they were sloppy in their cleanup. Poisonous beasts still linger in Old Yarnum, and the hanging bodies dotting the rubble paint a picture of something much more sinister that lives deeper within.